They threw him off that roof like garbage. 100 meters of freefall, but the cruelest part was surviving it. 10 years trapped in his own body, a prisoner of silence. He laid there, a living corpse, listening to his grandmother cry over bills, hearing doctors mock his decay, and witnessing his brother being broken by the same monsters who ruined him. They thought he was gone, but his mind never stopped screaming. Every insult was a tally mark in his dark ledger. He didn't just suffer, he studied. He analyzed every weakness and fear of those who destroyed his life. He wasn't praying for salvation. He was perfecting a masterpiece of vengeance. He would burn their world and laugh while it turned to ash. Then the universe broke. The hospital ceiling, the sterile smell, it all vanished. He opened his eyes to the smell of chalk and malice. He was back in that classroom. He stared at his trembling hands, grabbed a metal pen and plunged it deep into his thigh. The agony was intoxicating. It was real. He was back. He saw him. Park Min-cheol, the demon who started this. Same arrogance, same hollow laughter, same pathetic cruelty. Park was bullying a classmate, unaware he was standing in front of a ghost who spent a decade planning his execution. The old Kim would have bowed in shame, but this man, he has already seen the end of their world. Park approached him with that smug smile, asking about consequences. Consequences? This man stared into the abyss of death for 10 years. He didn't blink or offer a defense. He simply unleashed the fury of a decade into one brutal movement. He wanted them to feel the weight of every broken dream. The crack of bone and their look of shock, it was the music he'd waited a decade to hear. This wasn't just a fight. It was a hostile takeover. He isn't here to win. He's here to dismantle their existence. He's taking back the money, the status, and the dignity they trampled on. He's stripping them of their armor, layer by painful layer. Look closely at their fear. That is the realization that their empire is crumbling. He's not fighting, he is executing a plan. A plan that accounts for every variable and every desperate move they will make. He's 10 steps ahead, guiding them straight into the trap he built while he was paralyzed in that hospital bed. The Lord of Coin has returned to collect his interest with compound profit. Every cent they owe him will be paid in blood. Every tear his grandmother shed will be repaid in their screams. This is a business, and the business of revenge is thriving. Do they understand their time is up? Do they realize they are living on borrowed time? Welcome to his school, where rules are written in their suffering. He's just getting started, and the carnage will be exquisite. They thought they pushed him into his grave, but they paved the way for his ascension. Watch the system collapse and see how a lord reclaims his crown. This is just the prologue to their irreversible ruin. You have no idea what's coming. Park Min-cheol, the school's notorious bully, treated everyone like his personal punching bag. When he cornered Lee Jung-min, Kim Hyun-sung witnessed the brutality. He knew he should stay away, but the memory of Lee's kindness made him stand his ground. He didn't fear the bullies, and he didn't fear the consequences. That stand cost him everything. From that day on, the small group targeted him, dragging him out daily to be beaten to a pulp, forcing him to grind their games until he lived in a living hell, but the pain only sharpened his hatred. He wasn't just a victim anymore. He was a coiled spring waiting to snap. Now, the classroom is paralyzed in shock. No one has ever dared to touch the bully. But in one fluid motion, Kim grabs Park's hair and slams his face into the desk. The sound of bone hitting wood echoes through the room. Park is trembling, terrified, while Kim moves with a cold, calculated ferocity he never showed before. Kim fights to dominate, knowing Park's strength comes from overwhelming force. He strikes first, he strikes hard. Park is stunned, unable to process why this model student holds such deep, murderous resentment. He doesn't know that Kim has been rehearsing this exact moment in his head for 10 agonizing years. A chair flies across the room. The bully's cronies have intervened. "You little rat, stop," they scream. Kim tilts his head, eyes cold, and whispers, "What if I refuse?" The tension is electric. They don't know who they're dealing with, and their confusion is the first crack in their dominance. Enter Kong Chung-hee, the muscle of the group. He steps up, threatening to teach Kim the rules, but before the brawl can turn fatal, the teacher appears, forcing them to retreat. Kong leaves a cold warning. After school, there's nowhere to run. Park is shaking, already plotting a brutal revenge fueled by his bruised ego. As the bell rings, Park stands ready, but he's too slow. A shadow blurs past, and a kick sends him flying across the room. Brain-dead and confused, Park stares at Kim, who growls, "We aren't finished yet." Park can't believe his eyes. He expected a broken victim, but he's facing a man who has already dismantled them in his mind. The bully's world is collapsing, and the model student has become the architect of his total, humiliating ruin. Jung and Jiang stormed in, expecting a victim. They found a monster drenched in blood. Kim just stood there, smirking coldly. "Sorry, you're all too late," he whispered. In an instant the argum vanished, replaced by a suffocating, paralyzing sense of pure terror. Jiang Chonghe charged in recklessly. Kim knew a fair fight meant death, so he abandoned honor. Grabbing a heavy chain lock, he targeted vitals with surgical precision. Each violent impact shattered Jiang's defense, dismantling his ego with every calculated, bone-crushing blow. Jiang fell, but Kim didn't stop. He turned on Cho Young-tae, tackling him like a wrecking ball. He pinned Cho down, raining a relentless, suffocating barrage of punches. Cho didn't even have time to scream. He was pummeled into a pulp before his brain could process the violence. Exhaustion burned in Kim's muscles, but his killing intent remained absolute. He locked eyes with his final target, Jung Minho. Jung stood paralyzed, hands shaking uncontrollably. He watched the boy he once labeled trash mutate into a hellspawned entity right before his eyes. Kim stood over the bodies, breathing heavily. He didn't show mercy. He cleared the room of the remaining thugs with cold, clinical efficiency. Every movement was precise, every strike intentional. The predator had truly become the master of this chaotic, bloody classroom. After finishing the job, Kim cornered Jung. The bully was shattered, whimpering on the floor. Kim approached him slowly, his shadow looming over the boy. "Our debt isn't settled yet," he murmured, his voice dripping with malice that turned Jung's blood into ice. The teacher burst in, ready to play the savior and scapegoat Kim, but Kim wasn't the fool from his past life. He stood his ground, watching the teacher's pathetic display of false authority. He didn't flinch. He simply prepared to dismantle the man's entire corrupt world. The teacher spewed a self-righteous lecture, trying to frame Kim for the carnage. But Kim leaned in, ice cold. "Teacher, handle this quietly. Don't make me reveal the truth about your dirty secrets. I know exactly what you've been doing behind the scenes, you hypocrite." The teacher slapped him, but Kim didn't blink. He dropped the bomb. "I know about the bribes from Jung's mother. And the affair with the English teacher." The teacher turned pale as a sheet. His career, reputation, and authority collapsed in a single. Silent heartbeat. The nightmare for them was only just beginning. People often ask why victims of bullying don't just tell their teachers. In his past life, Kim Hyun-sung did exactly that, but the teacher dismissed it, preaching harmony while Kim was pushed into hell. He didn't understand how an educator could remain so indifferent when a student was being systematically destroyed. One day, while being beaten, Kim was finally seen by the teacher. He expected justice, but the teacher turned away, pretending not to see anything. Kim later discovered the teacher was on the payroll of wealthy parents, treating bullies like Jung Minho as his personal cash cow. Realizing the system was rigged, Kim decided to use his own fists to seek justice. During a confrontation, Minho's parents pressured the school, forcing Kim's grandmother to apologize while the bullies walked free. It was then Kim realized that raw violence alone wasn't enough to secure true vengeance. After cornering the teacher and exposing his secrets, the bribes, and his affair with an English teacher, Kim threatened to ruin his career. The teacher, terrified of losing everything, finally bowed down. Kim de Momlay butts his time at Tuprum instead. With the teacher now under his control, Kim marked him as just the first pawn in his grand plan. Meanwhile, in the classroom, young Minho was fuming. He had been terrified by Kim's aura, and he needed to reclaim his status and hide the truth from the other students. Kim stepped into the classroom, his shadow swallowing the room as the door clicked shut. Before Minho could even breathe, Kim exploded into action, delivering a bone-shattering strike that sent Minho and his chair crashing backward. He pinned the bully down, raining a series of brutal, unrelenting punches that turned Minho's face into a bruised, bloodied mess, stripping away every ounce of his arrogance. Minho shrieked for mercy as Kim delivered a final, crushing blow to his jaw. With the teacher watching and refusing to intervene, Kim leaned in close, his cold, hollow gaze freezing Minho's soul. He whispered clearly, "Look around, there is absolutely no one left in this hell that is coming to save you. 3 frames. I'm done. If those secrets come out, my life is over." The teacher stares at the chaos, paralyzed by the fear of his affair and bribes being exposed. He wants to stop the carnage, but sees the blooded scene and realizes it's too late to save the bullies now. Kim feels a wave of emptiness after the fight. The boy who tormented him for 3 years is now a shivering wreck from just a few slaps. It only highlights how pathetic Kim's own past weakness truly was. The classroom is deathly silent. The classmates stare in shock, believing Kim's life is ruined. The principal, obsessed with prestige, is furious. His precious, wealthy donor's children are hospitalized. He demands Kim's immediate expulsion. As the English teacher agrees, the homeroom teacher panics, frantically signaling him to stay silent to protect their dirty secret. If he's expelled, we're both destroyed. The homeroom teacher realizes. Terrified by Kim's cold, unwavering gaze, he shifts tactics. He pleads with the principal. Kim is a victim pushed too far. Punishing only him is against our duties as educators. The principal reluctantly calls for a disciplinary committee in 1 week. Kim is sentenced to mandatory suspension until the hearing. As he leaves, the homeroom teacher chases after him, desperate and sweating. "I did everything I could. This was beyond my control." He stammers, hoping to save his own skin from Kim's silent judgment. Kim knows exactly what the teacher is doing, but he plays along. He needs this man. "I know you tried, but you've known about the bullying all along. Remember, as long as I'm in this school, your only protection is absolute loyalty to me." Do you know what I thought about for 10 years while I lay broken, paralyzed, and rotting in that bed? Every second was a symphony of agony and absolute, burning hatred. I lived through that hell just to return and dismantle you piece by piece. You are not my savior. You are a tool I will use to erase every single person who destroyed me. If you fail to be useful, I will tear your life to shreds. The nightmare for the bullies has only just begun.